Shalom, family. This is Divine Prospect, Kingdom Harbinger Ministries. We're here with another Saturday night live session. We're going to wait for some people to jump on the live stream. We're just going to give it a moment, wait for some people to jump on the live stream. Now, this particular session, it's 3 in the morning. Probably going to stay in it for a little bit. Hold on. Let me take care of this auto Zoom thing. Let me take care of that. Let's get this out of here. All right. Okay. I don't know why these settings don't stay, but it's all good. All right. Take this link. Share this link, family. All right. Man, it's a lot of things I could talk about. They've seen something very disturbing. But I'm not going to share that at this moment. Maybe another time. I did a Facebook video with me rapping earlier, and people got a kick out of it because I made a post where I took a screenshot from the MTV Diary about Aaliyah, and it was a scene where Aaliyah was at 5 Records back in 2001 before the plane crash. And I think it was in July 2001, if I'm not mistaken. I think the plane crashed in August. But it was a month before she died. And I went there with a couple of friends and went there to go chop it up with her and get an autograph and everything like that. So I waited on line of everybody else. And I got a chance to get my album that I purchased of hers at that time, the last album that she made, got it signed. Had a poster, got that signed. Gave her a hug and a kiss on the cheek. She kissed me on the cheek. I was speaking to her for a little bit, and then the bodyguard was hating. It's like, oh, come on, you got to move along. But luckily enough, at the end of the event, we caught her on her way to the limo, and we got a little bit more time to chat with her. And then for maybe about 5 minutes or so, then after that, she had to go. You know what I'm saying? And I was like, man, I'm going to go get a chance to chat with her again in the future, because she was very down to earth, very cool, everything like that. But unfortunately, y'all know the story. She's not here anymore today. You know what I mean? But I still have that autograph album and that autograph poster, you know, in memory of her. You know, she was a great artist, great person. And I just was feeling a little nostalgic because I was chatting it over with my family. And I said, let me just go put this up and see what people say. And I posted it up, right? So I'm still killing time. So this is a Saturday Night Live session. I made a Facebook post, and I said anybody that wanted to discuss Henotheism versus monotheism, that want to discuss the date and historicity of the Exodus and the ancient Israelite calendar. If anybody's interested in speaking on any of those subject matters and they want to get on this panel discussion, feel free to do so. I'm looking for people who have differing views than me so we can sharpen each other. And I can show people how to disagree amicably and how to keep so objectively when presenting information, even with somebody who disagrees with you. And just be able to hash it out and, you know, learn something from each other. Because like I tell people all the time, I'm a student first, I'm a teacher second. You know, so I always have an open ear to learn and, you know, improve or enhance what I already know in my studies. All right. So I'm gonna wait a little bit more to see whoever wants to give people time who want to jump on this panel. Let's see. And I would have done this earlier, but I had a couple of distractions and whatnot. But just seen something that was very disturbing as well.
Do you want to find?
Oh, all right. So let me give a shout out to the people in the chat. Shalom to Mona Breakley. Shalom to Adaya Yisrael. Shalom to Kiefer Abiel Ben Israel. Shalom to Cam in the Way. Shalom to Sirius B. Shalom to Kanisha Hardin. Shalom to Brian Williams. At work but tuned in. Appreciate that. Shalom to Deborah Swart. That's funny. Peace to Peace GZZ. Shalom to the Black App One. Shalom to Talk Truth with Shawnee. Shalom to Derek Quay. Shalom to pieces of me. Does anyone here keep the Sabbath from sunrise to sunset? Yes, that's me. I keep the Sabbath from sunrise to sunset, right? If anybody wants to have a discussion on that, the panel is open. I'll add that on the list if you want to talk about that as well, all right? Peace to Gino Long. Shalom to my brother Danielle Knox. Who else is in there? I think I covered everybody who I see is in there. All right, fam. So share this link. You know, I had people. Shout out to Ari Turner. Shalom. Add you on Facebook. All right, cool. Hold on. I'm gonna add you on Facebook right now. Good thing is I deleted a couple of people. So I'm going to have room to add you. So I'll go ahead and add you on here. Oh, you already sent the friend request. Yeah, man. I got 1,025 friend requests pending. And messages, I got over 1,500 messages in my inbox that I have not read yet. So yeah, it's kind of crazy. But it's all good. It's all good. I'm trying to get through everything as fast as I can. But I just get constantly bombarded with stuff, and that's fine. You know, I appreciate the love people are showing, and everything. So I can't complain, you know. Like I said, every day above ground is a good day. You know, so. Okay. Just give me a second. I'm just responding to some stuff that people are posting up here. But if y'all want the link, I'm gonna post the link in the chat because I don't see nobody jumping on the panel. I don't know why nobody wants to jump on the panel. I don't understand. But it's all good. It's all good. If you guys just want me to educate, I'll educate, no problem. Let's see. Let me go ahead and share that link with y'all. So you gotta have Google Hangouts. You gotta log into Google Hangouts when you get this link. To those of y'all in the chat, this is for anybody that want to join in. Thank you, Talk Truth for Shawnee, for dropping those links in there. Shout out to Brian Williams, Jody Issachar Rain. Oh, long time no speak, man. Adaya Yisrael says, we want to hear the rap. Nah, I ain't gonna do the rap on here. Not gonna do the rap on here. So yeah. Unless it's a righteous rap. That wasn't a righteous rap. But shout out shalom to Jamel Williamson, who joined in. Share the link, family. Let's get more people up in the building. All right. I shared the link in the chat. So if anybody wants to join in on the forum, on the panel, just click the link, sign into Hangouts, and you can jump right on and we can get started. Oh, somebody jumped in. Let's see who's swimming in these waters right here. Oh, we got 2 people up in the building. So can y'all introduce yourselves? I'm gonna go first with Edric. Edric, introduce yourself.
What's going on, Edric?
Oh, that's my boy right there from KC. What's good, man?
What's good, King?
Edric in the building. All right, appreciate that, Aki. All right, whoever the second person is, it says Hebrew. Go ahead and announce yourself. Let us know who we're talking to.
Joshua Issachar.
Oh, Joshua. Joshua, why I can't see your face, man? What's going on, man?
Look at that.
Gotta make sure you ain't got nothing to hide, man. Let's go. Let me see you. Let me see you.
Nah, bro, I'm in my bedroom, man.
Turn the light on, man. All right. I'm gonna give you some time to do that. The next person that jumped in is Ray Cage. So,
Shalom. Actually, it's just Benjamin, or you can call me Benjamin. I tend to message you time from time, but it's an honor being in here. Thank you.
Cool. I know exactly what that is. So, shalom to you. If y'all don't want to show your faces, all good. I'm okay with it. I'm just gonna in the building. All right. I shared the link in the chat. So if anybody wants to join in on the shout out. Okay, so I'm gonna let this Deborah just announce it. Get started. Oh, somebody jumped in. Coming in these waters right here. Oh, we got 2 people up in the building. Y'all have the web browser open. First with video, just mute the tab real quick. Anybody that's on the panel? That's my boy right there. All right, Deborah, you can say what's up. Hey.
What's good, King?
Edric in the building. All right, appreciate that, Aki. All right, whoever the second person is. Real quick, I just need her to. I'm gonna need her to delete, not delete, but to mute that tab. All right. So I'm gonna mute you real quick, Benjamin. Oh, you muted already. All right, Deborah, you there? I'll make sure you ain't got nothing to hide, man. Hey. Let me see you.
Nah, bro, I'm in my bedroom.
I'm gonna go ahead and mute that. All right. So if anybody else want to jump in, the link is in the chat. Also, I posted the link on my Facebook page. So thank you for the 4 brave people that jumped on here. I'm gonna give them an opportunity to speak. But before I do, I just want to keep it centered on the subject matter. I want to just get a few things out before we get started. So I have a upcoming lecture that I want to focus on at the end of the year. We still have the Unity Through Autonomy, and we still have the Getting Under Your Skin lecture, right? So Unity Through Autonomy is is part of my pro-activism series, and the Getting Under Your Skin is part of my naturopathic health series, right? So those 2 are due. They're gonna be released soon this month. I'm give you my word, family. I'll do my best to get them out there. But at the end of the year, we're trying to get this this cultural, ancient pre-existing cultural profile, divine council, hodgepodge thing out the way. You know what I'm saying? And I know a lot of people are excited for that lecture. Like I told people, I'm gonna take a different approach. I'm going to minimize and streamline the lecture so that way there's less data in it, and just keep it at major points. So that way it's easily absorbable, and the screen can be seen even from the live stream. But remember, you guys could also always purchase the DVD and get the full HD quality of it, and also get the link for the slide share. All right. People that's part of the Patreon, you get the DVDs for free. So you get a free DVD if you want it. If you are part of the Patreon, just type in Divine Prospect and sign up for the Patreon account. And in doing so, you get a free DVD, and there's a whole bunch of other freebies depending upon which tier of commitment that you give on there. Anybody want to give to the GoFundMe, you can go to Kingdom Harbinger Ministries, type that in GoFundMe, and you guys can give a donation. If you want to give via PayPal, you can go to kingdomharbinger@gmail.com. And if you want to do a super chat donation, you can do so directly through this chat. Right underneath the chat, the live chat, you'll see your channel name. Then it'll say something. Underneath that, you'll see a smiley face and a dollar symbol. If you click on the dollar symbol, it'll allow you to donate in real time. All right. So anybody wants to give that way as well, we appreciate it. But remember, we're not requiring anybody to give anything to support this channel. For the ministry, I come out of my pocket with a donation of those who are part of the ministry and people outside of it to continue to keep this thing going. So that way I can appropriate time to research and give you guys information to better your reality. Okay. So with that being said, it's late, so we're going to get into the subject matter. So first, the first subject matter I'm going to bring out is henotheism versus monotheism. Now, tonight I'll be freestyling. Okay. I don't have a PowerPoint in front of me that I'll be working on, because that would put anybody who wants to give an opposing worldview at a disadvantage unless they come prepared. So I'd rather just freestyle and just go over a couple of things. Anybody wants to defend monotheism, and we can definitely have a great dialogue on that, because I tell people all the time, I'm not a monotheist. That's not my subscription. I don't subscribe to that. When I first came into this walk, I was. And then I did further research and study, and I realized that that was not the ancient pre-exilic Israelite culture. So I'm trying to reconstruct, restore that, and engross myself in that element, because that pocket of culture was a time capsule that migrated from the Levant region and was dumped into West Africa and unearthed, and then popped open. And those elements of those customs and practices were then embedded into the natives there by way of the Israelites who migrated there in West Africa. Okay, after Babylonian captivity for the Yahudim, them returning and coming back and rebuilding the temple, a whole different system came about that was further matured during the Greco-Roman captivity. You know what I'm saying? And you have something called Second Temple Judaism, which is much different than the Hebrew Israelite pre-exilic culture. Okay, so being that I subscribe to that, I'm a henotheist because that is what the culture subscribed to. But people who are adherents to Second Temple Judaism are monotheists, and I would love to see that their worldview and see how they address certain scriptures on that, and certain posing questions on that as well. And after we touch on that element, then we're going to get into the second part, which is the date and the historicity of the Exodus. So there are some people that say that the Exodus occurred during the 13th dynasty. There's some people that say the Exodus occurred during the 19th dynasty. And there's some people that say the Exodus occurred during the 18th dynasty, right? So I would love to see what people's worldviews are on that and what they can showcase to substantiate that assertion. So that way it's not a mere claim, but they actually have some solid footing to stand on when conveying and presenting that worldview, okay? And then the last point is the ancient Israelite calendar, right? And I say calendar in parentheses because that word is not even there in the text. But the reckoning of time that we utilize, because again, there's a ancient pre-exilic method and there's a post-exilic Israelite method. And I am an adherent of the pre-exilic Israelite method. That is my culture. That is what I engage in. That is what connects me to the continent of Africa and to the indigenous culture of the Israelites who migrated there. I went over to with you guys, page 92 from Babylon to Timbuktu, when we look at Eldad Hadani, or Eldad the Danite, and we see in his travels to West Sudan, he told you which tribes he came upon. He was a Danite, and he saw Gadites there, Asherites there, Zebulon there. He's seen all of these tribes there. And then we get further information from other griots of Israelite communities there in West Africa, and they tell you what tribes that they come from. And they were there way before anybody from any of the Yahudim made their way into West Africa, right? And when the Yahudim actually encountered these individuals much later on in history, they brought a lot of the Second Temple Judaism customs and practices with them. Because if we look at the account from Eldad Hadani, he says specifically that these individuals that were there did not have the Talmud, right? That means they didn't do anything with the Mishnah, and they didn't do anything in regards to the Gemara, right? They didn't do anything with the halakhic law either, you know. And he was naming certain things that they just were not privy of, right? Because they were isolated away from the rest of the Israelite community in the Levant after the siege by Sennacherib in the northern tribes, or on the northern tribes in their territory. Okay, so that culture they brought with them and they settled there in West Africa. But we have a lot of people in America who are American Negroes or Black African Americans, or whatever byword you want to use, and they all believe that they're from Judah. You know, I used to have that subscription at one point. I've since thrown it by the wayside because I've done further in-depth research, and my research does not bring me to that conclusion. Right. So those are the three things that I want to discuss, and this helps me to better. So people, it's good when people see individuals engage with opposing worldviews, or even with similar worldviews, just from different angles, because this way, you know, you can stand firm on what your subscription is, and it can be battle tested and peer reviewed, and it can withstand scrutiny. And I'm confident that my position can thoroughly withstand scrutiny. All right. I see somebody else jumped in here. Announce yourself, and your camera's upside down.
I'm trying to fix that now. Is that better?
No, still upside down, but we can see you clearly. It's just upside down.
All right, let me work on that, man.
Well, while you still upside down, it's all good. As long as no blood's rushing to your head, we all right with that. I'm trying to get an ambulance called while we on this panel. All right. But anyway, Just announce yourself to the panel and to the people so they know who's on the line.
Oh yeah, Jody Issachar Rain. You know me, Divine, but I know it's been a while.
Mm-hmm.
You know, just coming from Houston, Texas. So just listening in.
That's what's up. That's what's up. There we go. That's much better. Much better.
Is that better?
That's way better.
Okay.
All right, cool. Yeah, that's my brother right there, man. Met that dude in New York, out of all places, man. You know, I'm in Atlanta, he's in Houston. We met each other in New York. You know what I'm saying? But good brother. Everybody on this panel, man, can vouch for them. All good people's on this panel right now. You know what I'm saying? All right. So if anybody else, I'm giving you another call before we start. You can click on that link if you want to join in on the panel and have this discussion. I'm not sure how many panelists you can have on Google Hangouts. If anybody knows, just let me know. I don't know how many panelists you can have. But I don't care if it's 30, 40, 50 people on a panel. I'm all right with that. I'm going to make sure that I keep everything in order and make sure everybody get a chance to speak and voice their opinion. But you already know my research methodology. So hopefully everybody on here, you know, this is a laid back environment. We can speak and talk, but, you know, you got to be sharp too, because you don't know who else is on this panel. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, let me give a shout out to a couple more people in the chat and we're going to get started. Shout out to Zephaniah Yisrael. Shout out to Ari Turner. Shout out to Micah Israel. That's my good peoples right there. Shout out to Shalom to Just Looking. Shalom to Sam Bone. Shout out to Global Media Inc. in the building. Global Media Inc. in the building. Let me see who else is up in here. I think I grabbed everybody. If you want to shout out, if I didn't say shout out, Shalom to Goddess66. Anybody else that want to shout out, just hit 1 in the chat and I'll shout you out. Shout out to Gino Long. I think I shouted out Gino already, but that's a double shout out. Shout out to Yanaib Yasharala. I think I covered them. Shout out to Iron Duff. That's my brother right there. Just finished seeing that brother yesterday. Shout out to Yehoshua Shamar. That's good people's right there as well. And I think I covered everybody. If you want to shout out, hit 1. All right. Share this link. Let's get more people in the building. Shout out to Bernie Sat. And let's get it in. Shout out to Melon Rich Nagas, man. Faithful on this channel, man. That's what's up. So I definitely, you know, I always shout y'all out, man. Shout out to Global Purpose, man. Good people's right there. Always shout out to people that support, because I want the world to know, as this ministry grows and as we get on bigger platforms to influence our community with the right method of change, I want the world to know who is responsible for making this thing get as far as it can, because it's not about me. You know what I'm saying? I'm just a face that represents a bunch of anonymous people who want to work behind the scenes to do the best that they can for their families, for their community, and for the Most High. You know what I'm saying? And not necessarily in that order, but those 3 things as well. All right. So shout out to everybody. I think I covered everybody in the chat. All right. So we about to get started. All right. So let me head back to the panel. All right. Got some astute people on this panel. And the people on this panel, man, I know they study, you know, because I've spoken to each one of them personally, except for my brother Benjamin. I haven't spoken to him personally yet, except for inbox. But my brother Jody, I built with him in person. My brother Edric, I built with him in person. Deborah, she's in another country somewhere, so I didn't get to chat with the sister in person yet. The brother Hebrew, I don't think I spoke to the brother in person. Not sure. But, you know, because I meet so many people when I go to different cities, stuff like that, sometimes it's hard to keep track of everybody. It's easier for people to remember me than me to remember people. So, you know, don't blame it on my heart. Just blame it on what's going on. You know what I'm saying? But I'm going to talk on some stuff. So, like I told y'all, I'm not a monotheist. So some people may feel a certain kind of way about that. What you mean? You're not a monotheist? We're just talking about the Most High, talk about monotheism. And they just go crazy, right? But they never take time to try and allow me to build my worldview. They automatically assume because I'm a henotheist that I'm automatically a polytheist, and it's not the same thing. They automatically think because I'm a henotheist that I could possibly be an animist. It's not the same thing. And a lot of times they don't understand these terminology, so they use things out of context, okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to get the dictionary definition for these terms. We're going to get the etymology for these terms. So that way we understand these terms so we can communicate efficiently. Because one thing that I realized, that one of the major roadblocks for us getting to our destination together in unity is not being able to use the same definitions. If we cannot agree on the definitions, there's no way we can advance further. How can two walk unless they agree? So we can at least agree on these definitions, all right? So what I'm going to do before I show the definitions, I'm going to get the panelists. Now, panelists, if you want, you can hide your face right now, because I don't know what organization you're part of. I don't know what camp you're part of. But if I ask you these questions and you say something, they're going to go back and they're going to look at this and they're going to be like, what? I didn't know so-and-so was believed in so-and-so, so-and-so. And you know how people get. So I'm going to go to the panelists. If you want, I'll give you a chance now. You can hide your face. I'm going to go from my right to my left, and I'm going to ask you this question. So I'm going to go to the first person right here. All right? Rye Cage, you can unmute your mic. Saying that it's muted. You can unmute your mic. All right. So my question to you, Ak, are you a monotheist, a henotheist, a polytheist, or an animist? Which one of these things do you subscribe to? Or you can say, I'm unsure, you know.
I have to go with henotheism so far. With what I study, I have to go with that.
All right, cool. I'll give you an opportunity to build on that as we move forward. All right. So thank you for that. I appreciate it. You can mute your mic.
No problem.
All right. So next brother up, Jody, Mr. Issachar, you can go ahead and unmute your mic. I'm gonna ask you this question. All right. Are you a monotheist, a henotheist, a polytheist, an animist, or are you unsure?
I would definitely have to say monotheist.
Monotheist. Excellent. So we got somebody on here who was a monotheist. All right. Thank you for that, Ak. You can mute your mic. I'll get back to you in a second. I'm gonna give everybody a chance to speak their mind. All right. Next person, Hebrew. You can unmute your mic. Same question goes for you. Are you a monotheist, a henotheist, a polytheist, or an animist, or are you unsure? Brother Hebrew, unmute your mic. Give us some feedback. All right, I'm skipping for now. We're going to get back to him. All right, my brother Edric, you can unmute your mic. Question goes to you. Are you a monotheist, a henotheist, a polytheist, an animist, or are you unsure?
Well, I mean, I'm still in my studies for right now, but I would say henotheism, but it took a while to come from monotheism. So that's my final answer.
All right, cool. All right, so we get back to you, my brother. You can mute your mic. Deborah, you can unmute your mic. If you want to speak, that's fine. But the same question goes for you. Are you a monotheist, a henotheist, a polytheist, an animist, or are you unsure?
I'll get back to you later on, okay?
All right, cool. All right, someone got it. All right, so I had another person jump on the panel. Please announce yourself. Kazmeyer, please announce yourself. I didn't hear that.
Hey, shalom out. This is Kazaj Shemaiwan.
Oh, shalom, how are you?
Doing well. Just checking in.
That's good. Thank you for joining the panel. So I'm gonna ask you the same question. Are you a monotheist, a henotheist, a polytheist, an animist, or are you unsure? Where's your stance at?
I'm just gonna wait till later to just to observe, just to let it develop, and then get my answer later.
Okay, cool. All right. So the answer for me, I told you I'm a henotheist, right? So now let's go through definitions. And after we go through definitions and etymology, then I'm going to go back to the panelists. I'm going to give them each at least 3 minutes, 3 to 5 minutes to expound on their position. If they don't want to speak on it, that's fine. They can yield the floor. But I'm going to give everybody an opportunity to speak on it, okay? And then I'm going to give my few minutes as well. I'm not going to give myself an extensive amount of time just because I'm the host and this because this is my platform. But I want to be equally as fair to the speakers as well, okay? So let's go into definitions, family. So give me a second. Let me bring up the definitions, right? So the first definition we're going to go through is monotheism, right? So we're going to go through the definition, And then we're going to go to the etymon. All right, so let me go to etymon. All right. All right. And let's go to, let's do, we could do Merriam-Webster, we could do the Oxford Dictionary, Cambridge Dictionary. Let me see. Okay, so we're gonna go to Cambridge. Let me see, Merriam-Webster. Okay, they both saying the same thing, so I'll do Cambridge, all right? So let's go to some verified sources. All right, so I'm gonna share my screen with the family so y'all can check out my screen. Right? And we're gonna go through these definitions, all right? So first we're gonna start with the etymology, all right? So the etymology for monotheism is belief that there is but one God. From the 1650s, from mono, which means single or alone, plus theism, which is belief of a specific kind in God, a God, or gods. Keyword, single or alone, and belief in a God alone, by itself. Nothing else. All right. So let's move on to the definition. All right. The definition of monotheism from the Cambridge Dictionary is the belief that there is only one God. All right. This is important. The belief that there's only one God. All right. So now let's go to the next definition, which is henotheism. Okay. See if they don't even have henotheism in here. And there's other theisms like pantheism and stuff like that, but we're going to stick with those for those who are Hebrew Israelites, because most of them fall in these categories, all right? That's interesting. They don't even have this definition in there for henotheism, right? But it's fine. Let's look up, let's go to henotheism, right? Let's go to Merriam-Webster, since Cambridge don't have a definition. And let's go here. All right? All right. Now, I want to make sure you can see my screen. Let me see if y'all can see my screen. All right, I don't know. Hopefully y'all can see if y'all can see my screen, hit 1. All right. All right, so let me go back. Let me go back. Hopefully I can still see my screen. All right. So the definition for henotheism is devotion to a single God or power without asserting that he or she is the only God. From the 1860s, from the Greek henos, which is the neuter of heis, meaning one, from the pi root sem, one, as one together with. And theism, coined by Friedrich Max Muller, 1823 to 1900, professor of comparative philology at Oxford, supposedly a characteristic of the oldest Hindu religion, or a system between monotheism and polytheism, related henotheist or henotheistic. All right, so let's jump on the next general definition, which is here. And henotheism is the worship of one God without denying the existence of other gods or other powers. All right, so let's jump in quick to the next definition, which is polytheism. Let's stick with the Merriam. All right, and we're gonna go to polytheism here. Right, so polytheism is from 1610 from the French polytheisme, formed from the Greek polytheia, polytheism, polytheos, of many gods, from polys, many, right? From pi root pele, to fill, plus theos, meaning God. All right, we go to the Merriam-Webster dictionary, is belief in or worship of more than one God. So the belief in and worship of more than one God. All right, so that's that definition there as well. So let's get into the last thing. Let's go to animism. Okay, so animism is attribution of living souls to inanimate objects. 1866, introduced by English anthropologist Sir Edward Bernard Taylor, who defined in 1871 as the theory of universal animation of nature. earliest sense of doctrine that animal life is produced by an immaterial soul. All right, let's go into the Merriam-Webster. It says a doctrine that the vital principle of organic development is immaterial spirit, attribution of conscious life to objects in a phenomena of nature or to inanimate objects, and the belief in the existence of spirits separable from the bodies or from bodies. All right. So those are those definitions right there. So now that the definitions is laid out, I'm gonna give the panel an opportunity, a couple of minutes, and I'm gonna time them to give their perspective from their research, from their studies, being that we have the definitions now laid out in front of us. And I want them to be able to give a few minutes in regards to their position on which one that they stand on, okay? And if they want to bring up a scripture or two, I'm okay with that. If they just want to convey it without using scripture, that's fine as well, all right? But I'm going to let y'all give your few minutes of speaking, and let's see what we conjure up, all right? So we're going to start first with my brother Benjamin here. Benjamin, can unmute your mic. You got 2 to 3 minutes. Go ahead and give us your perspective on your position, my brother.
All right, my position is probably going to come more historical and anthropological more so than scriptural, but scripture does conform with it. My whole thing is this. If we migrated over to Africa, West Africa specifically, right, and we pay attention to those spiritual systems around that area, we know that within West African spirituality, there is one supreme being. But under him are lower beings that were deities that served under him, right? So my view of the way the spirituality went for Israel, which would have seemed correct, was the fact that, of course, we had the divine council that served under Yah, which is in Psalms 82, if I'm not mistaken. And with that divine council, they pretty much enacted his will, and that's what you see over in West Africa. So that's what substantiates my world view and the reason why I came to the henotheistic point. That's for me specifically.
All right, all right. We appreciate that, Ak. Good, straight to the point. All right, so I'm gonna go to my next Ak, and that's Brother Issachar. Brother Issachar, you can unmute your mic. You got 2 to 3 minutes to go ahead and just give us your point in regards to your position.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, my disposition is a rather simple one. If I just deal with and the scriptures as I view them, given the fact that as I read in the Old Testament, transition into the New, you know, that there was always one supreme God, which was the Most High. And of course, we had the mediator, which was the priesthood, and then moving into the New Testament. You know, we got Christ or the Messiah as the mediator, but all in all, of course, there are scriptures that that are used to substantiate that. But you know, not pivoting into henotheism. As I said, I believe that there's one supreme God that is superior. You understand? And you know, and that's pretty much my disposition on it, scriptural point of view, and how I view them. Because you don't see anywhere in the scriptures where it speaks of another supreme God, right? You know, hear, O Israel, the Lord our God is one. You know, as the Most High said, I am Alpha and Omega, and what have you. So that's why I base my worldview off of scriptures describe the Most High. So that would be my disposition on that.
Right, all right. Appreciate that, Aki. So I'm gonna go ahead and mute you for a second. All right, I'm coming back to this brother Hebrew that's on the panel. You can unmute your mic. You also have 2 to 3 minutes if you'd like to expound on your position, given the definitions and following the course of discussion. So I'm gonna go ahead and
All right, brother. I believe I'm into henotheism, and the reason I say that because even if you just examine the scriptures and go through the literature, you can clearly see that we make notice of other deities not dethroning the Most High. We still reverence him as the chief deity, but there are definitely a multitude of deities made reference to in the Bible. In Genesis 1, it says, "Let us make man in our image." So that's a group of deities in discussion. Some would say cherubims, seraphims. But I want to just bring up 1 Samuel 28 and verse 13, where it says, when Samuel went to the witch of Endor, and what this witch saw is very interesting. It says, "And the king said unto her, Be not afraid, for what sawest thou? And the woman said unto Saul, I saw gods, plural, gods with an S, ascending out of the earth." So this verse is making notice of a multitude of deities, not just one. Now that doesn't defame or take the credit away from the supreme deity, which is the Most High, some call Yah. He has angels and other gods underneath him. So I would have to acquiesce to the henotheism theology. With that, I yield the floor.
All right, awesome. All right, almost forgot who that was, but I know who that is now. That's my brother Jashub right there. All right. So I'm gonna go and give you 2 minutes, 3 minutes, Edric, like everybody else, and you can use the floor at any time within your time to go ahead and continue on the discussion. So you can unmute your mic, Edric, and give your 2 cents.
Well, yeah, like the first brother came on and said about the African spiritual systems, you know, that kind of twerked me a little bit to, how do you say, kind of investigate more, like with King Ahab coming and, you know, telling that deities were about to false prophesy to him. And, you know, we know that the sun, moon, and stars, they all have their own job, you know, like the Malakim, they have their job to do, but they're under the Most High. But, you know, like you were dropping last night about the different trees that were set up too close to the temple, representing Ashereth, and just the different things. You can tell we were a culture that put down other gods, but not to dethrone them or to disrespect them, but just to say, like, you know, you have a lot of power in Egypt, but we have the Most High and he's present. And no other really deity expresses the presence of their deity like ours does. And that's all I wanted to get out, really. But thank y'all for having me on. Appreciate it.
Yeah, no doubt, Ak. We appreciate you for jumping on the panel and giving your 2 cents to add to the edification of the subject matter. I'm gonna go ahead and open it up to Deborah. Deborah, if you want to give your 2 cents, that's fine. If you want to yield the floor to somebody else, that's fine. But you have 2 to 3 minutes, Deborah, if you want to give your insight or input on the subject matter. Okay, Deborah, going once, going twice. Okay, so I'm gonna pass up on her real quick. All right, so I'm gonna go to the brother Kazmaier. So Kazmaier, same question goes to you. You can unmute your mic. You have 2 to 3 minutes, or you can yield the floor at any time in regards to the discussion. So the floor is yours. All right, are you there? Brother Kazmaier, are you there? Let me know if you're there.
Con, can you hear me?
Okay, I hear you now. All right, let me mute so you can speak.
Shalom, everyone. Shalom to everyone on the floor. The water for having me on. Much appreciated. First and foremost, I would like to agree with the first brother, Rakage, and brother Hebrew. It's quite clear in the literature that there's multiple powers or gods. But when you look at that argument of monotheism and polytheism, it's really, that argument is usually with those two terminologies. And when you had henotheism in there, a lot of people are ignorant to that, and quickly we would pick monotheism, acknowledging that there's a supreme power, and only that supreme power. I think ignorantly people would jump to that. You know, that's why I kind of waited before, you know, I would say something, you know, in advance, monotheism, because according to the scripture, you know, it's clear. You go to Psalms 82, the scripture in Samuel that the brother brought out, that there are other powers within the earth, and henotheism captures that understanding. And a lot of people, you know, especially Christians, would jump to say monotheism. There's only one power, without acknowledging other powers in the earth and other cultural systems that yield to those powers. So I would say that I'm henotheism, and I yield.
All right, awesome. So this is a good mixture from the input that we got from the brothers on the panel. I'm also looking in the chat to see what people are saying in the chat. But so far, I think everybody's given some really good feedback. Let me shout out to some other people I see in there. Shout out to James 29157. Shout out to Kokab Tafari. Let me see. Shout out to the Shepherd who jumped on. Shout out to Tina W. Shout out to Nisi's Pieces in the building. Let's see who else we got up in here. Shout out to my sister Navia Yasharel. Shout out to Karima Torre. And I think that's everybody. All right, make sure you share this link, family. It's a great discussion that we're having. Again, we don't hear a lot of this discussion in our community, so this is very valuable that these people on a panel are brave enough to come and speak their position on this. Anybody that may feel that they may be afraid to speak out on what their position is, you know, it's all good. You can just holler at me. I'll defend you. I got your back. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to hold you down. All right. So let me go ahead and use my 2 to 3 minutes and let me go in. All right. So I'm going to start right. I'm starting now. All right. So my position is that of henotheism. When I first came into the truth, monotheism was preached and promoted, and I accepted monotheism, right? Because it was an idea that I already had in my mind from being a Christian previously. Transitioning into the truth, I transferred it over. The only difference was I acknowledged my identity and I started following Torah, but I still held to the concept of monotheism. When I started to do independent research, inductive analysis in order to verify certain claims that are made by a community using an academic research methodology in order to ascertain the epistemology of any subject matter, then I realized that I got it wrong. And I realized that monotheism is the belief that there is only one power alone and there's no other power. Okay. Now, I found that to be very faulty, but I also looked into polytheism and I realized that in regards to the ancient Israelites, polytheism also fell short and animism also fell short. But I realized by looking at the text that there was something called the divine council, where there was a host of other entities, and out of that host of entities, there was one entity that presided over them. And I'm going to give you guys some scriptures real quick. But before I give you the scriptures, I'm going to explain something as well. When Second Temple Judaism took effect, whatever remnant of the Torah that they had, it was redacted in captivity. So now when you redact the Torah in captivity to match a new worldview of monotheism, anything you see in a text that implies anything other than that, there has to be an alternate way to explain it, or there has to be a doctrine to defend monotheism in light of the evidence that are left there in the text. So one thing that's used is something called the royal we, or the majestic plural. In Hebrew, whenever you have a plural noun, it must be matched with a plural verb. When you see a situation where you have a plural noun and the verb is singular, something's going on there. That noun then becomes a collective noun, right? Or a singular collective, which means that the word team is one entity, but it consists of multiple individuals that are collectively grouped with that one entity called a team. A corporation is a single entity, but it is made up of multiple other personalities, individuals. So they use this concept of a majestic plural or royal we to describe the sovereignty of the creator and the immenseness of his sovereignty and how it is immeasurable. So this is how they explained the plural noun with the singular verb, even though that is not proper Hebrew morphology, right? That's not proper Hebrew grammar, okay? But nobody really questions this. They accept the presupposition that monotheism is the way to look at this. So using a royal we or majestic plural explains that, all right? So my last minute, let me go into the scriptures. I'm going to go into the scriptures and let the scriptures speak for themselves so you can see why I was coming to this conclusion. Now, some of the brothers already mentioned Psalm 82. We're very familiar with that. But let's look at a couple of more scriptures real quick, and then I'll yield the floor, all right? And we'll move on, right? So let me go ahead and share my screen real quick because I only got a minute. All right. All right. So here's my screen, family. All right. So the first scripture is Daniel chapter 10, verse 20. Daniel chapter 10, verse 20. Daniel's visited by this messenger who looks eerily similar to what we find in the book of Revelation chapter 1. But that's we're not dealing with the Brit Hadashah. We're dealing strictly with Torah Tanakh now. And he encounters this individual after he was praying. The individual messenger says to him, "We've heard your prayer the first time you did it, but I had to fight against somebody." The messenger said, "Yo, I had to fight against a principality. I had to fight against another power before I can get to you." And then when we jump down to verse 20, he says, "So he said, do you know why I've come to you? Soon I will return to fight against the prince of Persia. And when I go, the prince of Yavan," which is translated as Greece, "will come." And it says, "However, I will tell you what is inscribed in the writing. Yet there is no one who stands firmly with me against these forces except Michael, your prince." So these are powers that are fighting against each other. That's very interesting, right? Because if there's only one power, then no other power should be fighting each other. Let's go to the next verse. 1 Kings chapter 1, verse 22 and verse 20 of 1 Melachim 22, verse 22. We'll do verse 21. Matter of fact, let's jump up real quick because I ain't got a lot of time. All right, let's go here. Micaiah said, "Therefore, hear the word of Yah. I saw Yah sitting on his throne, and all the hosts of heaven standing by him on his right and on his left. Then Yah said, who will?" Listen, he asking a question now. He's not commanding anybody to do anything at this point. He said, "Who will entice Ahab to go up and fall at Ramoth Gilead?" And one said this while another said that. Then a spirit came forward and stood before Yah and said, "I will entice them." Then Yah said, "How?" Listen to this dialogue, family. And he said, "I will go out and be a deceiving spirit in the mouth of the prophets." Then he said, "You are to entice him and also prevail. Go and do so." So the supreme entity over this council put a question out for a volunteer to come and do something. That's interesting. But if he was immediately supreme and there was no council, then there's no need to put the question out to ask for a volunteer. That's interesting. Let's jump to the next scripture. Psalm Tehillim 95 and 3 says, "Let us come before his presence with thanksgiving. Let us shout joyfully to him with psalms. For Yah is our great Elohim and a great king above all Elohim." What? There's an acknowledgement of other Elohim. Interesting. Exodus chapter 18, verse 11. We jump to verse 10. So Jethro said, "Blessed be Yah who delivered you from the hand of the Egyptians and from the hand of Pharaoh, and who delivered the people from under the hand of the Egyptians." And remember, Moses was leaving out of Mizraim, and he went into the land of Midian. He bumped into his father-in-law and said, "Listen, look at all these wonders that Yah has done for us." And now Jethro is acknowledging him. He says in verse 11, "Now I know that Yah is greater than all the Elohim. Indeed, it was proven when they dealt proudly against the people." Then Jethro, Moses' father-in-law, took a burnt offering and sacrifices for Elohim. Now mind you, this would be considered a goy, or somebody that's outside the nation of Israel. But now he's given a burnt offering and a sacrifice to Elohim. And Aaron came with all the elders of Israel to eat a meal with Moses, father-in-law, before Elohim, which means that they gave a burnt offering and a sacrifice to Elohim and ate a Thanksgiving meal with the high priest of Israel, and the Most High did not shun this. That's interesting, because where did the children of Israel first encounter Yod-Heh-Wav-Heh? They encountered him in the land of Midian. Moses found this entity in the land of Midian, and the entity said to him, "Hey, Hey, here's what I'm trying to tell you. This is what's going on. Let's move forward, right? Got a few more scriptures. Judges chapter 11, verse 22 and 23. So they possessed all the territory of the Amorites from Arnon as far back as Jabbok, and from the wilderness as far as Jordan. Now, since Yah, the Elohim of Israel, drove out the Amorites before his people, are you then to possess it? Do you not possess what Chemosh, your Elohim, gives you to possess? So whatever Yah, our power, has driven out before us, we will possess. Wait, hold on. How is a power, an entity, if there's only one power, how is this other power able to give his people land? That is very, very interesting. And I'm going to go to the last one and I'm done. I'm going to yield the floor because there's several other scriptures I go to, but I'm going to yield the floor. And I'm maybe a minute or two over my time, so please forgive me. I'm not doing this to be selfish. I just wanted to get this off. And if anybody want to come back and respond to these scriptures, I will give the panel a minute to do so, okay? Deborah chapter 32, verse 8, Deuteronomy 32, verse 8 says, when the Most High gave the nations their inheritance, when he divided all mankind, he set up boundaries for the peoples according to the number of the sons of Israel. But if you read the NLT, which is derived, because mind you, there's different ways to translate this. You can either use the Dead Sea Scroll translation, the Septuagint translation, or the MT, Masoretic Text translation. Each one of those translations says something different. So we have for the Masoretic text, it says the sons of Israel. We have for the DSS, the sons of El, and we have for the Septuagint, the heavenly court. Okay. So when you read the NLT, which is derived from the Septuagint, it says he divided the peoples according to the number in his heavenly court. When we go to the ESV, it says he divided peoples according to the number of the sons of El. So when we go do textual criticism and we do a deductive analysis and trying to reconstruct what the original has said, we have to deduce from these three different renderings the common denominator. And when we see that the root common denominator is the word El, you have El in Israel, you have El in El, and you have El in regards to the heavenly court, which is the Enhelion and the Septuagint or into the Koine Greek. So we can pull El as the root of all three of these things, right? And we see that El, more than likely, when we're reconstructing this from a textual criticism point of view, is the original rendering. That means that there's sons of El. And the sons of El we see also in the book of Job. The sons of Elohim come and present Hashatan before the supreme deity. So now we have a situation where a high power on this court has divided the nations, their inheritance, which is the land that we saw that the Amorites were given by their power, Chemosh, and that lines up with Deuteronomy 32 and 8. But then we go further to Deuteronomy 32 and 9, where it says, for Yah's portion is his people, and Yaakov is the allotment of his inheritance. That means, according to how we read in this straight and plain, the Most High has given land and people to other entities, and Yod-Heh, Wav-Heh had chose out of that allotment of people for himself. That is very groundbreaking, family. So with that, I yield the floor. I'm going to go back to the panel. I'm going to give them a minute to respond to what I said. And I dealt strictly from the scriptures, strictly from a linguistical perspective, a scriptural perspective. And I want to give everybody a minute to either say whether they subscribe to it, say whether they disagree with it, or give some other third-party input. I'm going to give them a minute because I did go over my time a few minutes, all right? So let me go ahead and start and be fair, because I'm striving to be fair. Let me go back to the panel. And I'll start first with my brother, Benjamin. You can unmute your mic, Ak, and you have a minute to go in.
All right. I completely agree. If we're going to look at Israel for what it is, as you said, the post-exilic model completely changed from the pre-exilic. And then if we're looking for, at what we would consider the family religions, right? We would see with the family religions on the outskirts of Israel that there were speeches about other gods, and this is proven archaeologically, and they were worshipped right along with Yahweh. Now, whether it was right for them to do so, that's up for debate. But the real question is, okay, like, if Yahweh was being worshipped along with these other gods, but they saw him as supreme, that would mean that there was some form of a concept of henotheism, And scriptures go right along with that if we're looking at it from its cultural perspective. So with that being said, I yield.
All right, thank you for that, Ak. So I'm gonna move forward to my brother Issachar. Brother Issachar, you got a minute to respond to what was placed by the other brothers or what I said. I give you a minute to give.
Absolutely. I think I should have been like the brother Kazma and not gave an answer prematurely. But yeah, I was speaking in retrospect of a supreme deity. And of course, with the scriptures you pulled what the brother just before me said, you know, it is very obvious that there's deities, other deities all through the Old Testament. I can't remember the brother's name who spoke on the Godhead, you know, but that is true. So, you know, I gave an answer prematurely. You know, I do agree with other deities being in the Bible, and I know that we can all agree that the Most High is the supreme God, and I think that makes us on the panel, all of us, Henotheism. So I agree with it all. So position, and just gave an answer prematurely. So not ashamed to admit that I learned. But yeah, I yield.
All right, excellent, excellent. Thank you all to all the panel members for operating in decency and order. And this way, everybody can be heard. Everybody can give their input and not be cut off, disrespected, called names, anything like that, because I don't tolerate that. Okay. So now I'm gonna move forward to my brother Jashu. Brother Jashu, please, you have the floor. You have a minute to give your point of view after the panelists have spoken and after I have given my piece. You have the floor.
Yeah, I mean, I pretty much agree. I think the problem is a lot of people look at it, when they hear monotheism, they think, if they hear anything outside of monotheism, they think that it's like worshiping other gods or breaking the commandments. But that's not what henotheism is, which you basically presented, the other brother presented the evidence to show all throughout the literature. We make note of these other deities that work for the Most High and are under the Most High. So I see no problem with it. I agree with everything that has been presented so far. So I think the whole panel is on on one accord. With that, I yield.
All right, cool. I appreciate that, my brother, for your input. I'm gonna open it up to my brother Edric. Brother Edric, you got a minute to respond to the panelists or respond to what I said. To give your point of view. We definitely listen in, so you have the floor.
All right, thank you again. Yeah, to back up the scriptures, just to have a thought or like what the Persians or Greeks had and dealing with like Hercules, you know what I mean? And when they venerated him when he ascended, or whatever, they knew that in deep spirit they weren't worshiping that God, but they knew he existed. Like when Pythagoras comes on the scene, Aristotle, these men are killed because they're preaching the same thing. So it's like in every culture, they know what's going on, but they choose Baal, over this deity, or they choose Hercules, or they choose, any other thing they want to, because it's like, that's the idolization, we're idolatry, and that's where that commandment comes in. That's just my personal opinion. But yeah, y'all hitting it right on the note, because coming from Christianity or Islam, it's hard to give that monotheism up, like the brother was saying. So yeah, I appreciate it, man. Thank
you. All right, thank you for your input, Ak. We greatly appreciate that. I'm gonna open up the floor to Deborah. She's probably not in front of the mic, but Deborah, if you wanna give your 2 cents, you have the floor to do so. If you don't respond in 15 seconds, then I'll know that you're probably away, and I'll open up the floor to the last brother on the line. All right, Deborah, going once, going twice. Okay. All right, so we're going to move on to the next brother, Brother Kazmaier. I'm going to go ahead and unmute your mic. Again, you got a minute to respond to the panelists, give your point of view, if you want to enhance it or if you want to respond to something I said, but the floor is yours, Ak.
Hey, Shalom. Can you hear me out?
Yes, we can hear you clearly.
Okay, Tawada. I just want to say that I agree with what you brought out. In fact, I just wanted to read two precepts to edify concerning the Elohim or Elohim, if you will, and how they are powers or gods, and how one of the last precepts you brought out in the division of the nations. And I just wanted to go into the Apocrypha included in the King James, the earlier version of the King James, the original version of the King James. And the precept reads as Sirach, Ecclesiasticus chapter 17, verse 17, and it reads this. It says, "For the division of the nations of the whole earth, he set a ruler over every people, but Israel is the Lord's portion." And that term ruler there, if you go into the Hebrew, is actually God's or powers. Okay, over the people. He divided the people and he set a ruler or power over each, or God or part of the Elohim over each. And you brought out a precept concerning how there were specific parts of the Elohim or gods that ministered even to deceive. And I just wanted to edify and precept that scripture that you brought out, which is also in the book of Sirach, Ecclesiasticus, and it reads here, this is Sirach chapter 39, and it's 39 and verse 28, and it says, "There be spirits that are created for vengeance, which in their fury lay on sore strokes. In the time of destruction, they pour out their force, and appease the wrath of him that made him." Okay, so this, and it goes on further, but it just shows just the Elohim or the Elohim, gods that are under the Most High, created for different purposes, as well as having the luminaries, and you can read that in Genesis, which are powers within themselves for different purposes. And a lot of the times we're kind of ignorant of that. Even the Tower of Babel, with the 70 angels that came down, that turned out to minister as gods to these nations, that confound the tongues and the divisions of the nations. Just wanted to add that to your point.
All right, awesome. All right, family, thank you for that, for your input from the panelists. I'm gonna go ahead and just take another minute or two and just throw something else out there, and then I'm gonna move on to the next subject matter, because we got two more things that we're gonna touch on briefly before we end off on this call. So far, there's a lot of people in the chat, so I appreciate the people that are watching live. I know it's early in the morning, but I mean, what better thing to do but learn something new on today, right? Can't really blame the people for being on the line for that. All right, so let me go back into some scriptures. All right, I'm gonna go into some scriptures for you guys. Let's do two more scriptures. All right, let me hold on. Let me grab my scriptures real quick. So I want y'all to read along with me too. So let me throw the scripture up here. And let me get my other scripture. I'm gonna show you guys something interesting, right? All right, so give me a second, family. Give me a second. All right. All right. Okay. All right. So let me go ahead and share my screen and get my scriptures, okay? So I'm going to, let me go share my screen. Hopefully people can see my screen. Let me make sure I can share it. All right, here we go. All right. So, and looking at my screen, what we see here, oh, there we go. Okay. So looking at my screen, what you can see here, All right, this is Jonah 1:5, and it says, Yah hurled a great wind on the sea, and there was a great storm on the sea, so that the ship was about to break up. Then the sailors became afraid, and every man cried to his God, and they threw the cargo which was in the ship into the sea to lighten it for them. But Jonah had gone below into the hold of the ship, and lain down and fallen sound asleep. So the captain approached him and said, How is it that you are sleeping? Get up, call on your power. Perhaps your power will be concerned about us, that we will not perish. Right? Let's keep reading. Each man said to his mate, Come, look at this, family. Let us cast lots. This is a form of divination. And this was done by other people who were not the same people as Jonah. But Jonah engaged in this. So we may learn on whose account this calamity has struck. So they cast lots, and the lot fell on Jonah. So now, if there's only one power, why is Jonah engaging in divination of casting lots to see whose power was angry at them? Interesting. But it's only when the lot fell on Jonah that it says, Then they said to him, Tell us now, on whose account has this calamity struck us? What is your occupation? Where do you come from? What is your country? From what people are you? He said, I am a Hebrew, and I fear Yah Elohim of heaven, who made, so he's talking about the creator in regards to the council, made the sea and the dry land. Then the man became extremely frightened and said to him, How could you do this? For the men knew that he was fleeing from the presence of Yah, because he had told them. So if there's only one power, why are all these other individuals preying on their power? And then Jonah had to engage in divination with them in order to find out if it was his own power that was mad at him. That's very interesting. Last verse we can get into. We read this all the time. Excuse me 1 second. Hold on. 1 second. Okay, sorry about that. Let's go back. So we go in Exodus chapter 20, verse 3. And it says, You shall have no other Elohim before me. We go on to read, it says, ISV version says, You have no other gods beside me. Right? We see before and beside, before and beside. But what does it say in the Hebrew? Right? Let's go into the Hebrew and see what the Hebrew says. Okay? Here's the Hebrew right here. And make sure you can see the screen. All right. So the Hebrew says, Lo yiyeh leka Elohim acherim al panaya. Right. So lo, which means is a negation. That means no. Yiyeh has to do with having or possessing something. You shall not have. Leka, which means towards you, or y'all shall not have, or you should not have towards these other powers, these other Elohim. Acherim is an adjective that goes along with the noun. It matches the noun, as you can see, in person and in number. Okay. Al, which means upon or towards. And panaya, the yod suffix is the possessive construct. And prana or prene has to do with face to face with something. So upon or towards my yod face. So it says, you shall not have towards your gods, your other gods. You shall not have towards these other gods, or you shall not have these other powers upon or above my face, or towards or against my face. So he's not saying not to worship any other gods. This is not what the text is saying. The text is saying, the text doesn't say you shall not worship any other gods. Interesting. The text only says you should not possess these other powers above me or against my face. That means I should not be competing with these other powers. You know why? Because Yah said that my lot is Yaakov. The children of Israel is my allotment. So it would be dishonest, and it would be breaking or breaching the contract that I'm making you guys, which is the contract for delivering you, creating you into a nation, right? And blessing you based on a promise I made with Abraham, for you to have another power competing against me. The Israelites worship Baal, they worship Asherah, they worship Milcom, they worship all these other powers. If these other powers didn't exist and it was only one power, they would not be worshiping other entities. But we see here the text never says you shall not worship any other powers. It only says you should not have these other powers above or against my face. That changes the game when we go into the Hebrew. Because when I was in a Christian church, I was always taught that this commandment was you should not worship any other gods beside me. The text does not say that. This is very, very interesting, family. Very interesting. This is another reason why I encourage the family to go ahead and go into the Hebrew, so that way you can get a better picture as far as what's going on. So with that being said, you know, it seems like the general consensus from the panel is that henotheism is the worldview in regards to pre-exilic ancient Israel. Now we'll go into other texts like Yeshayah, where we see a situation where it says you shall have no other powers beside me. But when you read in context and go into the Hebrew, it says something that's slightly different. But I don't have the time to flesh it out now. But y'all stay tuned for this upcoming lecture because I will address that, okay? So let's move on to the next subject matter, family, all right? And I'm going to go to down the panel again, and then I'm going to go check the chat to see what they're saying in the chat. But I'm going to start with you, Brother Benjamin. The next subject matter, you got 2-3 minutes to go in. The next subject matter is dealing with the date and historicity of the Exodus. So what I want you to do is I want you to tell us your subscription as far as what time period did the Exodus occur, and I want you to give us some evidence, extra biblically, or it could be biblically, but extra biblically preferable, to substantiate the historicity that the Exodus did occur that aligns with your chronology for the Exodus. So hopefully you understand that question. Everybody else on the panel understands that question. So you have 2-3 minutes to go in, and whenever you're done, you can yield the floor.
All right. This is one I'm probably not going to be as knowledgeable on. But from what I've been taught, which was it happened around the 18th dynasty, due to Ramses. I won't even lie. This is one I'm probably not going to be able to expound on as well. So I'm going to yield the floor to someone else because I'm not as knowledgeable. But I have to go right now since it's late. But shalom and peace, family. I hope I'll watch the rest of the video later.
All right. Thank you, my brother, for jumping on. We love you. Shalom. Enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you for your contribution. It meant a lot. And I appreciate this, brother, because when we don't know, we said we don't know. And I'm not sure, and yielded to somebody else. So shout out to that brother for that. We love you, Ak, and we see you again. Thank you for jumping on, Ak. Shalom. All right. So I'm going to move forward. Let's go to my brother Issachar. So brother Issachar, you have 2-3 minutes. Please, again, give us your chronology in regards to the Exodus when it occurred, and also give us some extra biblical evidence to substantiate your chronology. Or if you don't have any or you're not familiar with that, you can use precepts in the scripture. So you have the floor, Ak.
Yes, sir. So, I mean, yeah, same as the first brother. I'm not when going into the history of it. Only thing I've ever seen, dealing with the chronology, aside from what you have, David Rowe being my favorite, Egyptologist. I know that you agree with him a lot on the chronology and the evidence. Most I've done on that is listening to your dissertations on it. Agreeing, looking at the documentary patterns of evidence, or whatever have you. I know when we deal with the scriptures, it says the city of Ramsey, which was just a term that was used at that time that really didn't give proper definition for the time period. And I know that was reason why it was controversial or whatever have you, but I wouldn't be able to expound on that in detail. So with that, but with the disposition of saying that I agree with your chronology from what I've heard on the matter.
All right, I appreciate that, Ak, for your input. So I'm gonna move forward to my brother Yashub, because I know he really wanted to give some input on this subject matter. So brother Yashub, you got 2-3 minutes if you want to expound. Again, just so you understand, the subject matter is the chronology for the Exodus and any historical data that you have extra biblically preferred to substantiate that chronology. Or if you don't have any, you can refer to the precepts in order to do so. So the floor is yours, Ak.
I would refer to Bar Hebrews, but since I don't have it in front of me, I can't really expound on it. But like the brother said, David Rowe, he did a good presentation on it. And that's really what woke me up. And watching your videos, what woke me up to it, because I was a proponent of Ramses II. But you find out that that's completely impossible, seeing that Ramses died, 12th century BC, and the Exodus had to take place in the 15th century BC. So you got 300 years discrepancy right there. So that will be my proof and evidence, because I can't bring up Bar Hebreus. I was just trying to look it up and pull up the document, but I didn't have enough time to get to it. But with that being stated, you can clearly see when we came into Egypt as servants, period, the Babylonian, not the Babylonian, the Brooklyn Papyri, and they date that around I think 1746 BC. So if we were in servitude in Egypt at that time, and we exited Egypt around 1450 BC, that would add up to the years of captivity in Egypt, and basically line up with the Exodus. That's pretty much all I have. I want to bring out more about what Bar Hebreus has to say about it, but I yield the floor.
All right. Thank you for that, Ak. And again, me and you can always do a session if you want me to do it on your channel, if you want to do this channel, where you'll be better prepared in order to enhance your argument, and we can definitely build on that. But I appreciate your input nonetheless. So I'm going to go forward to my brother Edric. Brother Edric, again, I'm going to give you the question. The question is, please give us your stance or your position on the chronology of the Exodus, as well as substantiated the historicity of Exodus, extra biblically if possible and preferred. If you're unable to do so, you can resort back to the precepts in the scriptures to do so. So the floor is yours, Ak. You got 2 or 3 minutes.
All right, thank you. Okay, right now I'm looking at this article by Abraham Malamat's article, Let My People Go and Go and Go and Go. And it's about how, the theory, one of the theories is that the Exodus happened over time. And I don't really, that's such a touchy subject. I just don't have a position on it. But I'm in agreement with you, David Rowe, a lot of that information that came out. But pretty much I just want to pass on that. I'm going to give a little reference out. This is from the Biblical Archaeology Society. So, hopefully it's interesting for people to look up. But, as far as that, I'm still researching on it. I got a couple other projects I'm still working on. But thank you. That's all I got on that one.
All right. I definitely appreciate that, my brother. So I'm going to move on. I know Deborah, she's not by the camera mic, so I'm going to skip her. Brother Kazmaier, I'm going to give you the question as well. So please share with us your position on the chronology and the date of the Exodus. And please give us your worldview in regards to the historicity of the Exodus, utilizing extra biblical sources or proofs. And if you're unable to do that, you can definitely resort back to the precepts in order to substantiate your position. So the floor is yours.
Hey, Shalom, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you out.
Okay. I'm not going to spend too much time on this commentary, but I will say I agree with the panelists as far as the research that came out with David Rowe, what he brought out, and your follow up to that scholastic viewpoint. You do have things like the papyrus the Berlin Fragment, and the Semitic archaeology and the virus that was brought out, rounding it out to about somewhere around the 1400s BC. So that's where my stance is, and I myself, I'm looking for an accurate chronological timetable, matching it with precepts in the scriptures, just so I could better substantiate my argument going forward, having that general understanding with that information. So I yield just, in hopes that I could get an accurate account of that, so I could better substantiate that argument in the future.
All right, all right. I appreciate that, Kazmaier. Thank you for giving your input. I'm gonna go back and give a couple more shout outs from the chat, because I can't leave the people out in the chat. I'm gonna give a shout out to, let me see, who didn't I see before? Shalom to 7 Yoda. Let's see, who else is in here? Shout out to John A. Dezel in the building. Who else we got up in here? Shout out to my brother Kimo Ben Yisrael. Let's see, who else? Shout out again to Global Media and Talk Truth with Shawnee. I appreciate them getting everybody on board with the channel. Let me see, and I think I got everybody. Janae's crazy. We could talk about that off YouTube. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and get it in. Before I do, I'm gonna give a reference to two lectures that I did where I addressed this. So one of the main lectures, actually, there's several lectures that I did to address this, right? So the chronology that I utilize is that the Exodus occurred during the 18th dynasty. You feel me? And to substantiate that, there's several things, and I'm going to mention these several things. But first, I'm going to give you a point of reference. I've done several lectures on this, so my perspective is out there. It's out there for peer review. It's out there for cross-examination. It's out there for constructive criticism, etc. Okay? So several things that I look at that I'm going to refer that I mentioned in my videos. The first major video that I've actually went through on this, because I've touched on it in previous videos before it, but the Minority Report Part 1, if you have not seen that, please go back and watch that. That is a powerful video that substantiates the existence of the ancient Israelites, right? Using archaeology and anthropology hand in hand to verify their existence. So I go through prehistory, and from prehistory, I move on forward from there, all right? So this is extremely important, because before you even get to a scene that opens up in Goshen, you have to find out what was the environment before these individuals made their way into Goshen, and be able to see various influxes of people going in and coming out, right? So the Minority Report is one of the main videos that I would suggest that people watch in regards to my position on the Exodus, right? The second video is revisiting Exodus 12:37, how many Israelites actually exited out of Egypt. And when you go into that, I go back into the text in the Hebrew, and what I do is that I retranslate it, okay? Because there's a particular word in there, and you can go back and look at it, that from my research, my perspective, my decipherment has been wrongly translated, okay? I don't hold the position that there were 600,000 men that left out, and with men, women, children, Levites, and strangers, it totaled 2.5 million people. That is not my position. All right. So from my perspective, there was less than 100,000 people that left out of Egypt. Okay. Or Mizraim. And when you go back and watch that video, I go in depth and explain that from a cultural perspective, a linguistic perspective, from a historical perspective, from an archaeological perspective, etc. Okay. Another video that you can go back and watch that I did on this subject matter, that video was called is deciphering the Medu Neter necessary to formulate the ancient Hebrew Abjad, okay? And in this video, what I utilize is I'm looking at paleography, I'm looking at epigraphs, and what I'm doing is I explain the development of the Proto-Israelite script that we call the Proto-Sinaitic script. And what I validate is that, from my worldview, that it was not the Phoenicians that developed it. The Phoenicians was using what's called pseudo-hieroglyphs. And you can go back and look up pseudo-hieroglyphs. That's what they were messing with, right? But it was really a peoples that was leaving out of ancient Egypt that developed during the Middle Bronze Age, exited out during the Late Bronze Age, migrated across the Sinai into Northwest Arabia, made their way north into the Jordan, crossed their way over the river, and settled in the Central Hill countryside. And as they moved, the script followed them, and the script developed with them as they moved. So we see from the 18th dynasty, during that period, which is 1500 to 1400, during that period of time, we see that there are certain inscriptions that are left in the Serbit El Kadim site, which I said is Sukuta. So when we see what it says from Ramses to Sukkot that they traveled, that's a route that they traveled. When they went to Sukkot, my position is that Sukkot is actually Serbit El Kadim. Now, there were other inscriptions that were in that region prior to these group of people settling there, but we see from the inscriptions from that region, we have certain names, right? And Douglas, a man named Douglas Petrovich, if I'm not mistaken, you can go back to that video where I shared it. He actually deciphered certain of those Proto-Sinaitic scripts, and he saw names there. One of the names he saw there was Moshe. Interesting. And this was 18th dynasty. You can go back and research it for yourselves, okay? So I also showed the migration of the script, migration and development of the script from Middle Bronze Age, Late Bronze Age, all the way to its arrival in the Central countryside and its emergence during the Iron Age period after the Bronze Age collapsed due to the sea peoples and natural disasters and cutting off of trade routes, and the emergence of the Israelites that are then expanding on the scene during the Iron Age 1 period. They're being buffered by the Philistines, which is the Periset or the Peliset peoples. That was one of the coalition or federation of peoples from the sea peoples that settled in the coastal plains near the Mediterranean Sea, that were then expanding or enlarging their kingdom or empire towards the east, that was then encroaching upon the territory of the Israelites. And after Yah delivered them to the hands of Shemuel, the people cried out for a savior or a deliverance. They wanted it in the form of a king because they wanted to be as equipped and as organized as the other nations. And when we look at 1 Samuel chapter 7, jump to 1 Samuel chapter 8, we see which nation or confederative nation they were referring to, and that was the Philistines. The Philistines were more equipped and more military stronger because they were a nation of people much longer than the Israelites were. So they have already had a structure set up, everything like that. So when we go into that lecture, I touch in that lecture and I explain that in that lecture as well. There's another lecture that I did. It's called Crows on a Straw Man Part 1. Just go back and watch that. It's an excellent video. And what I do is that I give more evidence in regards to the 18th dynasty Exodus. And I talk about the actual storage cities, right? Tel El Retaba and Tel Adaba, which is the northern district that we would say is Pithom. Ramses. Pithom is El Tel Redaba, which is Pithom, which is the northern district of Avaris, which then later became Pi Ramses, the northern district. And we see storage silos there because there was a pharaonic naval base that was established there during the 18th dynasty by the Thutmosid Empire. And the reason why they had this naval base there is because the Nasut would travel from downstream from the south, which is Upper Egypt, and would travel downstream. And before he entered into the Mediterranean, he was stopped by Avaris. And what they would do was that they would collect resources such as grain, weapons, all types of things, conscripts for the fight. And we see settlements of Nubians, Egyptians, and other Semites in that region, okay? This is extremely important because during that time period, storage cities had to be created because one of the stops that the Nasut made or the king made before he went into the Mediterranean, he had to stop there to collect resources before going into the Mediterranean to fight wars, battles, or do whatever he was doing in the Levant region and other areas. And this was very important that storage cities were created there or made there so that way they can get the granary. And the storage cities was in the regions of the area where Semites existed. I go into that lecture. So I'm going to yield the floor. I'm going to give another minute or two to the panelists so they can address the other panelists, they can address me, or they can just expound on their point further, because I did take up extra time. So I'm allowed them to get the opportunity to speak. So let me go first with my brother Issachar, because my brother Benjamin had to jump off. So brother Issachar, you got a minute or two to expound, address the other panelists, or do whatever you like. You got the floor.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And at this point, I'm just listening, soaking up knowledge, man. I'm glad you put me on the spot, man. This lets me know I got to entrench myself in some more of these studies. And I look forward to the next time, man. I promise to be better prepared, but I think I'm a little underqualified for this. Just here to support, man, and I'll yield with that, brother.
All right, awesome. I appreciate that. Thank you for being honest and transparent. So with that being said, I'm gonna jump to my brother Jashub. Brother Jashub, you have a minute or two to respond to the panelists, to me, or just to expound on additional information that you didn't get to the first round. So the floor is yours,
Basically acquiescing to most of what you said. I watched that video that you did and the presentation that you did. The one thing that I'm having problems with grasping all the way, if you will, is the 600,000. I believe me and James were talking about that, or the 2 million that you brought up that left Egypt. I'm still learning about that and seeing how that could be a fallacy. I watched your video and your understanding. I guess I need to go back over it and, cross-examine some things, because it could be, my position could be wrong. What the Bible says, what we have recorded in scriptures could be completely wrong. Because like you said, and I have also acquiesced to the King James Version text, and a lot of the texts that we have available have a multitude of errors in the text. So like I said, I need to look into that more about the amount of people that left. But everything else you're saying, I'm in full agreement with. The time period, maybe the Pharaoh. I don't see anything contradicting that. Like I said, the 600,000, or you're saying that there's not that many. That's something that I need to be more thoroughly educated on in order to even make any commentary, because I'm second guessing it. I don't see it fully, but I just need more information to confirm it. So with that, I yield.
All right. I definitely appreciate that. Thank you for giving your transparent, honest answer. And definitely, I respect your scholarship immensely, right? I really do. And if you need me on your panel, on a discussion on your channel, let me know. I'll come through and support it. And we can go in on any subject matter you like and just build. All right. So I definitely appreciate that, my brother Jashub. So we're gonna move forward, because I don't want to take up much time. I have one more topic to go in real quick. My brother Edric, you have the floor. You can refute anything that anybody said already, or you can just expound more on your position if you like, or give a comment, or whatever the case would be. The floor is yours.
All right, thank you again. So I'm still in this article that I referenced to. First, where there's Semites in Egypt, so the Assyriologist Jean Botero, and he has a summary on how in the Delta, like you were just explaining, I don't have the vocabulary you do, but the testimony is supported in Egyptian literature. One sage, Nefertari, who lived around 1900 BC, laments the fact that Semitic-speaking people had infiltrated the Delta. So when we talk about proofs and, here's a stele or a picture of papyrus Anastasi 6. I'm sure you've probably seen that one, or it's in your video, about the Edomite Bedouin tribes who were watering the flocks at the pools of Payatum, or I don't know, I hate to bastardize it, but yeah, so just dealing with that, we know that, there was heavy influence in Egypt. It was like a society where, many people could come and share the freedom, so-called, of their ideas, but we all in reality know what that was about. So yeah, that's just my position, that I don't have a real time frame. Like I said, I'm just going through it. I have a lot of dates and a lot of people different position on it, but to just kind of get all the way into one, I haven't had the time yet. But pretty much from what, how y'all position it, it seems accurate. So with that, I yield.
All right. I appreciate that, my brother Edric. We're gonna skip Deborah because she's not by the computer. And my brother Kazmaier, the floor is yours. You can refute, rebut, you can address something that a panelist said, or you can just expound upon your position more further if you like. So the floor is yours.
Hey, Shalom, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. King, I can hear you out.
Just want to say peace to everyone that's left on the floor. I was transitioning back and forth, so I was kind of in and out of this segment. So I'm just going to yield because I don't want to cause any confusion. I caught the latter end of this part of the discussion because I was moving around. So I'm just going to yield and just continue to listen and as we go into the next topic.
All right, cool. I appreciate that. Thank you for participating nonetheless. And so I hope everybody enjoyed that segment as well. We're going to move forward to the last segment and then we're going to sign off. But before I sign off, if anybody in the chat, if you have any questions or comments, I'll be able to give you an opportunity to, I'll read it before I exit off. But I'm going to cut it after this last topic, and then we're going to go home because it's almost 5 in the morning. And I'm going to try to do these sessions a little bit earlier, at least by maybe 11 o'clock or something like that. And I'm going to try to settle everything in my home and try to be available as soon as I can to do these things. I know more people want to jump on, but sometimes it could be too late or too early in the morning, and people are unable to, and I don't want to neglect the people. So I'll make some adjustments on my end so that way it could be accessible to a wider audience, because I would have triple or quadruple amount of numbers in here if I was doing this at 9 o'clock. You know what I'm saying? But it's all good. It's all good. I thank the people who are hanging in there. You got a chance to give your input or whatnot. So let's go ahead and move forward. So the last topic is the ancient Israelite calendar. Okay. And this is something that I know the panelists all have their particular perspective on. I'm going to make this session quick so we can run through it. And I can get to the people in the chat, and we can sign off. And then, next sessions, again, I'll put out a subject matter. I'll open a panel, and we can all give our input. All right, because I love building, learning, edifying, and and we're doing this for the community as a whole. Okay, and a lot of things that we're saying now, I'm gonna get into a lot more taboo subjects. I've already touched on several of them already with my lessons and my lectures. But we're going to keep getting in more and more to more and more taboo subjects, and we're going to address them. I don't run away from these things, right? I bring them to the forefront because the better we're able to explain these things and to understand it, the better we are to defend our worldview against people who don't even subscribe to our Israelite perspective, right? So the reason why I'm doing this is because I want to sharpen everybody, and I want everybody to be equipped, empowered in order to handle your business when you're out there in them streets. It's a wild, wild west out there, man. It's a target on us as a community. You feel what I'm saying? So we have to be very wise and use Hakma when we navigate to get things done. All right. So the next question, the next subject matter is the ancient Israelite calendar. All right. So we have individuals who are flat Earth and people who are round Earth, and then we have individuals that have subscribe to several different calendar systems, whether it be using the conjunction or dark moon, Hillel II, whether it's using the FVC or the first visible light, or whether it's using the Enochian calendar. And then you have some that use a rendition of my calendar, which is using the full moon in conjunction with the sun, the stars, the weather, animal nature, and the crops. Okay. So what I'm going to do is open the floor, and pretty much is you have 2-3 minutes, just expound for us on what your position is in regards to what calendar you subscribe to. If you want, you can just speak freely, or if you want to cite some precepts, you can do so as well. I'm gonna mute you real quick, Brother Edric, because I hear some feedback. So I'm gonna open up right now to my brother Jashub. Brother Jashub, the floor is yours. You got 2-3 minutes. Give us your perspective on the calendar, and we'll move on to the next person.
Okay, great. My perspective is basically a lunar solar based calendar, basing that on what I can observe and tangible evidence that I have found, how our people kept it. The way I keep the new moon is based off the first sighting of the crescent, so that would be the beginning of the month. I know some people keep the lunar Sabbath, meaning they count 7 days. I don't do that. I don't subscribe to that because I do believe that we had a normal 7-day rotation, similar to the way that we see Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, Saturday. I'm still looking for the information to thoroughly flesh that out. But like you brothers have pointed out, there may have been a difference between the Judaism subscribed to after the temple fell. I agree with that, but I just need more evidence again on that. So right now I'm following a lunar solar calendar. That's how I mark on my feast days. Follow new moon according to the first crescent. So I don't even have a real word to even put all that into one thing to call that what should I call that calendar? But I guess that's basically what it is. The first crescent, give me the beginning of the month, and every 7th day is the Sabbath, and that's how I've been following. That's how I've been tracing the feast days, and so on and so forth. So that's my subscription. With that, I yield the floor.
All right, excellent. Thank you, Brother Jashub. Brother Edric, the floor is yours. You got 2-3 minutes. Go ahead and expound. Let us know your perspective in regards to the calendar. All right, so the floor is yours, Ak.
Hello?
Yes, we can hear you now. Go ahead. Try it again, Ak. Edric, unmute your mic, Ak.
Oh, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you. All right, go on, Ak.
All right, I'm sorry about that. So the monology calendar, that's pretty much, that's opened me up to some new things, trying to parallel to other calendars. Like the Islamic lunar calendar is one of my main things to go into, and it matches up perfect because of the different kings and the eras that they were in. The best way to match it up chronology wise is to go after the king and what their scribes and priests were saying that year of that was, and we match it with the constellations or celestial bodies, and we can actually create well, I mean, I guess you like a almanac. I guess I don't know the real ancient name for it, but I mean, we can go over to check like what these people are saying they seen, and just kind of subtract from what we see in the skies today. So that's pretty much as far as I'm with that. But yeah, thank you for all the knowledge, man. Because I mean, a lot of this stuff came from you, so I can't really expound on it what you've already given. So I mean, I yield.
All right, excellent. Thank you, Ak, for your input. It's appreciated as always. Thank you for contributing to the discussion. We're gonna skip Deborah. Brother Kazmaier, can you please expound 2-3 minutes on your position in regards to the calendar? The floor is yours.
Shalom, can you hear me?
Yep, can hear you loud and clear, Ak.
Okay. Well, my position on the calendar would be, I'll subscribe to the Enochian calendar and the solar calendar. I believe that was the calendar that was given and passed down through the sons of Sadak, and that calendar being, to my understanding, holy covenant, and that was the calendar of the covenant that was before and prior to the lunar calendar. So that's my subscription. And forgive me if I'm short. I'm just transitioning, so I don't want what's going on in the background to interfere. So I'm gonna yield with that.
All right. Appreciate that out. Okay, so we have a very interesting variety on the line. We have a brother that subscribes to the First Visible Crescent. We have a brother that is working through a lot of his position, and then we have another brother that subscribes to the Enochian calendar. And I appreciate these brothers for giving their differing worldviews, because this is how we learn, this is how we grow. And I try to always create an environment where we can hear each other out. It's okay to disagree. And I'm glad that we have differences. That's how we learn. That's how we grow. But it's not okay to curse each other out. It's not okay to cut each other off. It's not okay to disrespect each other, because nobody can learn that way. You feel what I'm saying? So I don't tolerate that. And I'm glad that the panelists that came on this evening have also respected that. So much big ups to all the panel members for having the decorum and discipline and waiting their turn and speaking their mind, and not feeling that they're going to be judged or be attacked or anything like that, regardless if they disagree with the host or not. So I commend all these brothers for being on the line and giving their worldviews. All right. So I'm going to go over mine real quick. But before I do, I'm going to reference some videos. If you go to Kingdom Harbinger Ministries, which is this YouTube channel, it's a 3-part series that's called Cultural Liberation Through Research and Application series. And it's 3 parts. All right. Watch all 3 of them. And that is the thorough analysis of my breakdown in regards to how I came to my position, examining other positions such as the FBC, such as the Enochian, and why I don't subscribe to them. But I don't belittle, condescend, or tell anybody else that they're wrong for subscribing to their position. I respect everybody's position to respect and keep whatever they feel they want to keep. As long as you're making an effort, I commend that, right? But I give my perspective as to why I don't subscribe to them no more, because I did at one point subscribe to the FBC, and then I transitioned to the Enochian calendar, and then I worked from the ground up and came up with a brand new model by examining as much evidence as possible. That 3-part series is 7.5+ hours. So you'll see how thorough, and I had to take away an hour and a half worth of information because it just would have been too long. All right. But you get everything in there. If you want a more streamlined, condensed version, you can go and watch the video on my YouTube channel called Feast Your Eyes on This. And then there's another YouTube video, and it's called, it's a teleconference called Defending Pre-Exilic Israel's Methodological Model from Other Hebrew Calendars. And on there, I was invited to a teleconference. And on that teleconference, a brother who subscribed to the lunar cycle had challenged me, and a brother who subscribed to the Enochian calendar had challenged me, and they did so respectfully. It's a great respected build. We're not, blasting out each other and disrespecting each other and going in. I don't tolerate that, because one of the signs of alpha masculinity is being able to maintain your discipline and decorum under any circumstance. You feel what I'm saying? It's only an emotional, a feminine trait when you respond to stimuli emotionally because you're reactionary. And men should not be hardwired to be that way. No matter what the condition is, even if you have to show a degree of aggression, you can do so in a very tactful manner. All right. That is the sign of a powerful individual who, in the face of adversity, can keep their calm, keep their cool, and respond diligently, tactfully, and be able to change the scope or the outcome of the scenario simply by using their wits, by using their tact, and by using the essence of who they are to command the attention to their presence. You don't have to be loud and boisterous in order to do that. You feel what I'm saying? So anyway, that's 2 cents right there. So to sum it up, because I don't have a lot of time, if you watch those videos, you'll go through the length and breadth of my position on there and how I've examined the other worldviews thoroughly before I came to my conclusion. Okay. Now, according to my conclusion, there's 6 pointers in order to understand the feast days. And then there's another point. I'm gonna make these 2 points, right? we have to examine the sun and the sun's position, which we use the equinox as a pointer. And if you go back to the videos, I reference why we use the equinox. You have the equilux and then the equinox, but I tell you why we use the equinox, right, which is the vernal equinox. From the vernal equinox, we look at the sidereal year in order to acclimate which constellations shows up behind that sun rising and which one what they call brings in the sun. So that constellation is the constellation Pisces, right? And again, this depends upon the locale of where you're at. Northern hemisphere, southern hemisphere is going to see different constellations, and different constellations are going to bring in the sun depending upon your location. The third thing is the moon, right? So after we've been able to pinpoint the sun, which you can do so in your backyard using your own genome and stones to create your own sundial. The constellations you can do by stargazing, and then the moon you can do by moon gazing. So we go by the full moon. If you go look up the Megarians or the Maghreb or those peoples are called the people of the cave that were discovered near the area of where the Dead Sea Scrolls sects, or not, excuse me, the Qumran sects were discovered. And they had a system where they believed or subscribed to the fact that the full moon brought in the moon, and they had their perspective on that. Also, if you go to the book of Enoch, we see two things in the book of Enoch that's interesting. We have one chapter in the book of Enoch that says that the full moon was made for the righteous and the dark one was made for sinners, which is very interesting. And then we also see a reference in the astronomical chapters, which is chapter 72 to 82 in the book of Enoch, where we have two traditions, one dominant tradition, one minor tradition. The minor tradition actually talks about a waning moon, where the majority tradition talks about a waxing moon, which is very interesting. It's a detail that people miss and they never really address when I bring it to their attention. But we see that the waning moon reference is an older reference or older tradition that was preserved within the text. Very interesting. You go back and research for yourself. Also look at the Qumran calendrical text. And when you look at the Qumran calendrical text, you'll see that there is a disunity in regards to the various sects that extracted the template from the Enochian calendar, tried to apply it practically, so that way they can assign people to different positions at different times of the year to do different things in the community. But they saw that as time passed, there was off a day, there was off a week, there was off a certain amount of time, so they discarded and they stopped using it. And we see during paleography, the use of paleography, that another group came and attempted the same thing, and another group came and attempted the same thing. So that's really what pulled me away from it. Not saying that it can't be applied today, it cannot be refined or perfected, but that's what pulled me away from it. The first visible crescent, the issue I have with that is the names of the months that's used is Babylonian-esque names. These are not pre-exilic names. Pre-exilic names only uses 4 months. First month, which is Abib. Second month, which is Ziv. Seventh month, which is Ethanim. Eighth month, which is Bull. You only need to know those 4 months because within Abib to Bull, all the feast days occurred. After Bull, the torrential rainy season hits, and after the rainy season is over, now the observants have to come from the witnesses in order to determine when to start the next cycle again, so that way the count can start for the feast days. The second thing would be the FVC, which is the first visible crescent. There's no reference to that term in the Torah or even in any pre-exilic text. We see that in the Tanakh, a word such as Sacharon is used, and that is referring to crescent ornaments, but also a crescent moon. And that word is used nowhere in the Tanakh in designation of singling out the actual observation of the moon. Also, we have a intercalation that is used with the FVC system, but there is no methodology for intercalation or adding a 13th month of 30 days in order to align the lunar cycle back with the tropical cycle, or what we call the solar year. We don't see any instructions explicitly for that in the Torah, right? So if I'm looking at these things, I'm going to say to myself, wait a second, if there's no intercalation, then that means that whatever calendar they were using did not need intercalation. So my proposal was that the priest observed only Abib to Bull. After that, the priests were not concerned about all the other days or months that succeeded or came after Bull. And they were responsible when the rainy season was over, when the migrations came in, when the crops were blooming, and the stars, sun, and moons were in alignment. Now they were told to observe the month of Abib, right? The month of the mature green ear, in order to say this is the first of months. And the reason why they were commanded, or even in an adjustive form, to observe is because they were not keeping a calendrical count throughout the year. If they had a calendar like we do here in America, using a Gregorian calendar, you don't need to look at nature to know what time of the year it is. All you gotta do is follow that calendar and the rules set by whatever entity has implemented that calendar. But if you're not using a calendar, then in order for you to know what cycle of the year or season of the year that is appearing, in order for you to count towards the appointed times, guess what? You have to observe certain things in nature so you can make the proclamation that now the timing is starting for the sacerdotal calendar. The civil calendar can be seen using the Gezer calendar, which has the word Yerach, right? And Yerach-u, which is the dual plural, and a more earlier form of Hebrew. And you'll see where it says 1 month you do this, 2 months you do this, 2 months you do this, 1 month you do this, etc. And it was a farmer's almanac, or what they call a schoolboy's exercise, to understanding the agricultural and pastoral method of determining time using a civil calendar. And then we have a regnal calendar that we see within the text that was first started by Jeroboam when he started to change the times, okay? So this is all very important to note, that these calendars ran alongside each other in layers, okay? Just like today, we have a fiscal year, academic year, calendar year, etc. These all run concurrently and parallel with each other, and it pertains to certain sectors of society, right? So that's my position on the calendar. If you want to see more in depth of that, I've done videos on it. If these other brothers have any other suggestions on references to their position, I encourage them to share it. I'm going to open up the floor, give another minute or so to address any of the panelists, whether it's the FVC, the Enochian, or my model, or if they want to continue to elaborate on their perspective even further, I'm going to give the brothers an opportunity to do so, all right? So let me go ahead and open up the panel, and I'm going to say this before I do. Once these brothers give their input, I'm going to conclude real briefly. I'm going to open it up to the chat. If the chat have any comments or any inquiries, I'm going to give them an opportunity to voice their opinion, because I do not want to neglect the people in the chat that have been contributing, that have been engaging us as we're speaking, and I want to give them an opportunity, and I want to start first with the sisters, and then I'm going to go with the brothers, all right? So I'm going to open up the floor. So Brother Jashu, you got the floor. You got a minute or two if you want. You can expound on your position, or you can address the other alternative positions that was discussed, but however you do it, the floor is yours, Ak.
Okay, I'm not gonna have enough time to cover this, but I've done videos on this before.
Bro, I didn't mean to cut you off, Ak. If you've done videos, please give us a reference to those videos so we can go back and watch it as well, because I want to support your channel as well, Ak.
Well, my channel is Genesis 49ers on YouTube. I've done, I think, 3 videos on this, and you could just type in "full moon is not the new moon." That's exactly why I left my organization I was a part of. I used to be a part of an organization named IUIC, and that basically that's where I had a disagreement with them, and I used a lot of archaeological evidences and arguments to sustain my belief and my theory that the first visible crescent is the new moon. But once we look at the Bible and the biblical data, as you stated, there's no verse that says visible crescent or the crescent indicates the new moon. It doesn't say it explicitly, or verbatim, if you will. It doesn't say full moon either. So what I have done on those videos is I compiled extra biblical sources to prove my point. I just want to touch on something else. I'm not going to be able to go into all that right now, but you mentioned the intercalary months. The reason why I believe we have to use intercalary months is because eventually, and I know you use the equinox, but eventually you lose days, or the month of Abib will not always land in the springtime, as you stated. So I believe we have to use it. I'm going to have to look at your information on it more, because I don't know how you break it down fully, but that would be very interesting to watch those videos and see how you came to that conclusion. But I'm still of the notion that the first visible crescent is how we dictate the moon. You count 12 moons, sometimes 13, to account for those days to align the month of Abib back in spring. And the tangible evidence that I have came across, that I have seen, like the documents of the Essenes, just to name a few, and not even just Hebraic sources. You have the Tablet of Umar, I believe, that talks about the waning moon describing the end of the month instead of describing the end of the month. So if that's the end of the month, then the full moon will have to be the middle of the month, and the visible crescent will be the beginning. That's not even a Hebraic source, but since the Bible doesn't dive into this topic thoroughly, I think we have to look at these other sources to come to a conclusion. And with that, I yield the floor.
Excellent, excellent. Thank you, brother Jashub. Definitely appreciate that, brother. Man, you know, that brother, something else, man. I mean, you know, after he left IUIC, and this is not to knock anybody that's in IUIC, but after he left IUIC, I mean, his scholarship skyrocketed. You know what I'm saying? To the point where I was like, you know, I'm going to outsource this brother for some research. You know what I'm saying? So definitely a good brother right there. And, you know, go ahead and check out his YouTube channel as well, so you can get his references to videos he's already done on this subject matter. To move forward real quick, my brother Edric, the floor is yours.
Yeah, I'm gonna yield, but that brother, I'm definitely gonna check out that YouTube channel, man. I appreciate your input, King, with the moon and the month, because that's really where I kind of got not stuck, but I just hit a writer's block real quick. But yeah, I'm definitely excited more. Yeah, you excited me to look into that more, so I appreciate. But I'll yield with this one. Thank you.
All right, appreciate that, brother Edric. We're going to go to the last brother Kazmai. I know he said that he's doing some stuff in the background. But brother Kazmai, if you want to give your final input, feel free to do so. Otherwise, we're just going to move forward, all right? But the floor is yours, Ak, if you can hear me and if you want to respond.
Khan, can you hear me out? Can
Yep,
anyone hear me?
can you clearly, Ak?
Okay, perfect. All praises. I just want to conclude, not to be long-winded. Just my stance in regards to the calendar, and I want to emphasize the Seleucid Greek lunar calendar versus the priestly solar calendar, and when the lunar calendar came into play, according to priestly historiography. You know, the calendar of Sabbaths, which was instituted by the priesthood in the stock of Sadak, lasted all the way up to Hanyo ben Simeon, okay, leading up to the time of Antiochus, and the Hellenization of the priest, and the changing of the calendar, roughly around 167 BC, when the Hashmoneans came in and Hellenized the priesthood. That was the change of the calendar that we know, from the solar calendar to the lunar calendar. And I think that from our subscription, that was the change of the calendar and the start of the observing of the moon calendar. And you can read of this history and tracing back into the Dead Sea Scrolls, and the sons of light versus the sons of darkness, and it was a parallel of these two calendars. So just to generalize that, not to be long-winded, but that's my subscription as far as that time, 171 BC, roughly around the time of the reign of Antiochus and the Hellenizing of the priests, was the changing of the calendar. You had priests such as I forget his name off top, but scripturally, if you go into 2 Maccabees chapter 6, verses 1 through 7, it talks about this time, and then if you read Daniel chapter 11, also talks about Daniel chapter 7 verse 25. in Daniel chapter 11, verses 31. It talks about, this institution and the changing of times and laws. So that's my subscription, and I would generalize it in that fashion due to my current condition. I can't really go into depth, but I will summarize it off the top of my head with that, with my standpoint.
Okay. All right. Appreciate that. All right, family. This concludes our session on this Saturday Night Live. I know it's early in the morning. I'm about to end soon because I'm tired. I want to get some sleep. Before I go, I'm going to give each one of the 3 people on here 30 seconds just to give any final words, and also just let everybody know how they felt about the panel discussion on tonight. Was it moderated appropriately? Was everybody respected? Did everybody get a chance to convey their points in the allotted time? So I'm gonna give everybody about 30 seconds on the panel so that they can close out. They can make a reference to another channel if they want, information, give an email, whatever. Because, as a leader, I'm not intimidated by other leaders, right? I promote other people around me who are equally as great. So I have no problem building other people around me. That's how you know that you're a leader, when you have other successors and other leaders around you. If you're a leader and you're the only person leading and nobody else is leading in any way, shape, or form around you, I would be very keen to watch that person, right? Because they want all the attention on them and they don't care about anybody else around them. So 30 seconds goes to the speakers. I'm gonna go first to Jashub. Jashub, 30 seconds or so. Just give your final words and speak on the session on tonight. Brother Jashub, you got 30 seconds. Give your final words and speak on the session on tonight. Brother Jashub, you there?
Yeah, I'm here. I didn't know my mic was muted.
Okay. You got the floor.
It was a good discussion. A lot of interesting things. I learned that the people in the panel and you guys have hold as a belief, and your studies have sharpened me a lot. So I appreciate all the work that you put in this community and everything that you contribute, because we need scholarship in order to basically verify our claims. So I appreciate that, and I appreciate you allowing me to be a part of this panel, so I can just give my side and hear your side and hear the other panelists. So I appreciate you allowing me to be on the panel. With that, I yield the floor.
All right, awesome. Thank you, my brother Jashub. And it's interesting. It's always interesting thinking about this brother, man. This is one of the first brothers that actually made a critique video on my work, man. I will never forget that. But it's interesting how that turned out, because me and him we really good peoples now, you know what I'm saying? But that I got to give that brother credit, because, man, he really critiqued my work. So definitely appreciate that, brother. I'll have him on here more. If he wants me to jump on his channel, I will. We're going to move on to my next brother, Brother Edric. Brother Edric, you got 30 seconds. You can give your final words if you have any, or speak on the session on tonight. The floor is yours.
Oh, yeah, I just wanted to say shalom, man, and thank you for everything, because, you help me also personally, sometimes. So I definitely appreciate all the help. The panel was definitely deep. Got into some good discussion, and that's what I like. I mean, it helps me go through my day to know that other people are struggling with the same burden. So I mean, I just appreciate all you do, man. And for the panelists, Genesis 49, thank him too, and thank the other brother before he timed out. But yeah, I'm just grateful, man. I appreciate it all. And with that, shalom, and the floor I yield.
All right, thank you for that, brother. I appreciate that. All right, I'm gonna go to my brother Kazmaier. Brother Kazmaier, you got 30 seconds. You can go ahead and give your final words or speak on the panel session on tonight. The floor is yours.
First and foremost, I just want to give all praises to the Most High, just for allowing the edification to come out. And I just want to say bless you, brothers, for having me on, because I didn't know what I was walking into. I thought I was just being a part of the audience, and I just came on to listen and get edified. So I was really, unprepared, but iron sharpens iron. A lot of things came out that I felt that I'm gonna go back and just touch on and just add to the arsenal for clarity and for accuracy. Yeah, I look forward if it's the Father's will coming back on, just joining in on the discussion, not trying to impose any superior knowledge or anything, but just for edification purposes and iron sharpening iron. It was a blessing. I yield the floor to Water.
All right. Thank you for that, my brother. So I hope you guys enjoyed this panel discussion. Going forward, anytime we have a panel discussion, whether it's to edify, even if there's a debate or discussion, I want to make sure that I moderate fairly. I want to make sure that everybody is heard. I want to make sure that nobody's disrespected. I want to make sure that everybody is able to feel a sense of comfort in sharing their worldview without being attacked. And that way the information comes out so everybody can learn. Okay. Even if I had a debate on my channel, I will have a neutral moderator come on and be able to moderate as well. So that way, no one person gets the upper hand. I don't even want the upper hand if it's my channel. I want everything to be fair. So I thank the brothers for jumping on, and the sister that came on as well for jumping on. They can exit out if they want. Matter of fact, I'll exit them out. So that way I can just conclude, and I'll just be left here with the chat audience. All right. So I'm ejecting you guys and go to the chat. All right, everybody. So I'm gonna go check out the chat. Y'all let me know what your thought of the panel discussion on tonight. If y'all have any quick questions, please quick questions, or any comments that you want me to read into the video, definitely post them now. I'm gonna go check out the chat and give y'all a few minutes, and then I'm signing off. Okay, so let me go ahead and let me check the chat. Shout out to Talk Truth with Shawnee. Thank you for the super chat donation. I appreciate that, sis. I know some people dropped off because it's early in the morning, so people had to go. Shout out to Tanika West, man. Shout out to my sister Tanika West. I appreciate that sister right there. Shout out to Nasaba. Shalom. Shout out to Nasaba. I know Nasaba said that he missed some of the information, but the video is going to be posted up so you can check it out. We went into 3 subject matters. We dealt with the first subject matter we dealt with had to do with the henotheism versus monotheism, and then we went into the second one we went into was the Exodus, the chronology of the Exodus, and historicity, or extra biblical references to substantiate your chronology of the Exodus. And then the last one we went into was the ancient Israelite calendar, and the people gave their perspectives in regards to the calendar. I make sure everybody was heard, make sure everybody had a chance to convey their worldview and their perspective. And even when I went over, I didn't give myself a rebuttal, but I gave an extra minute or two to the panelists to actually speak their mind as well. And again, going forward, we'll have more videos like this. Will just be me and maybe 1 or 2 other panelists. So that way the panelists have more time to divulge into their worldview, and we can get into a much more media conversation. But this is just a sample for you guys. And hopefully you guys enjoyed it. And going forward, we can continue to keep it this way, respectful. Even in the chat, everybody's respectful in the chat, man. And this is the type of vibe that you got to get. This is why I believe this channel should be supported, because this is the catalyst for change in our community. You see that everybody didn't agree, but nobody was disrespecting each other, right? Everybody was heard. Everybody was edified. Everybody was educated. Everybody was respected. And this is how we're supposed to do this. Even in the chat, no one's being disrespectful. Nobody's being rude. Everybody's showing love. Everybody's here to learn. Even if you're a teacher, you should always be a student first. And if you're a leader, you should always be a servant first. And that is our objective. You understand what I'm saying? And as long as we operate in that objective, we'll have favor from the Most High, and we can come together more closely as a close-knit community, because autonomy is the only way we'll be able to survive the oppression that's facing us today. So if anybody else is in the audience, shout out to my brother Daniel Knox. If anybody else is in the audience that wants to give their 2 cents real quick, that they want me to read into the video, or they have a quick question, please leave it now. There's about 40 people still in the chat. So you guys have a minute or 2 to post these comments or post these questions so it can be addressed real quick, and then we sign it off. All right, so I'm gonna wait a minute or two so I get some feedback from the chat. All right, shout out to Sister Tanika West for the donation, the super chat donation. I appreciate this. Everybody that donates, they help to empower this channel and make things available and accessible to other people who may be unable to donate. And if you can't donate, it's fine. Just give us your prayers, your support, share, like this video, and it's equal to you donating as well. All right, so we appreciate that. All right. Let's see. My brother Raz Kokhab Tafari, shout out to that brother. He said, fair enough, brother Prospect. But in my studies has led to an end of the 12th dynasty Exodus, put in Joseph as the 4th dynasty Imhotep. Thoughts on that? I've heard that worldview before. I've studied it. And I don't personally subscribe to it because there is some flaws in linking Joseph as Imhotep. I would be interested to see the chronology behind that and any extra biblical evidence aside from the famine stela, because the famine stela is interesting because in the famine stela, Imhotep, he went to the south, which is Upper Egypt, and to the island of Elephantine, and he encountered the power Khnum in a dream, and Khnum told him that you guys towards the north are not worshiping me, but if you reinstitute worshiping me, set up temples, then I will allow the Nile to inundate. And Joja, which was one of the kings that Imhotep served, sent him to the south in order for him to discover why the Nile was not inundating the way it was supposed to. And Imhotep was responsible for helping to build the mastaba or step pyramid for the king Nebuchadnezzar or Joja. And Imhotep was noted as being one of the first documented mathematicians, astronomer, medicinal experts, scientists, etc. So I don't propose Imhotep to be Yosef because I believe that the chronology is too early. I believe that the record of the famine stela, he's actually getting instruction from the god Khnum and not Yod-Heh-Wav-Heh or anything that's related to priests of Israel, even if it's El Shaddai. So I don't subscribe to that. That doesn't mean the brother's wrong. Anybody that makes that position is wrong. It's just that I would love somebody with that subscription to get on my channel, on my platform, and let's have a discussion over it in more detail so people can see both points of view. All right. Brother Sirius B said prayers for tomorrow's lecture, bro. Looking forward. Yes, I'm going to try to do, as y'all see, I don't sleep. I need to get sleep, but when I'm up, at least I use my time productively. I meditate, I pray, I research, or I'll do a live session like this and I'll engage with the community. So at least if I'm up late at night, I'm not doing nothing I'm not supposed to be doing, but I'm staying constructive and productive because everything that I do, I want it to be a vicarious victory for everybody as a whole. So I appreciate that, my brother Sirius B. All right. Let's see. Sister Tanika West says, how can we as a people unify through the process of autonomy since some of us live in diverse states and countries? That's excellent. The good thing is we have the access to the internet, WhatsApp, Skype, Google Hangouts makes the world much smaller. We also have, like team viewer meeting and things of that nature so we can show presentations. So the internet makes the world much smaller. So unity has to be initiated behind common denominators that affect us in society. So when we have a shared experience through common denominators by adverse elements in society by way of various ills that are afflicting us, when we can come together on those various ills and we can reinstitute culture, then we can be a community, a commune unity, common unity, community. Then we can emerge autonomous where we can rely upon each other for our resources. So if a brother is in the UK and I'm in America and I have resources here that he does not have and vice versa, and we know that if we share these resources with each other, it helps to alleviate our societal ills within the communities that we live in, then we're going to create a common bond where we're going to unite together and in order to exchange these resources to alleviate these ills so we can better empower one another through this shared experience. And so that way we can patronize each other and become autonomous So that way we don't have to rely upon the oppressive system to support us, that we can rely upon each other. So we have to go to the common denominator of societal ills that plague us, and all of us plays a role in nullifying those ills, because we all have a skill set, we all have a trade, we all have a know-how, we all have something that we contribute to the pot, so that way everybody can get what they need. So that way we can barter, we can trade, we can exchange resources, give intel and knowledge and information, but come and bind together under the unified form of the common denominators that face oppressed peoples throughout the world. And we can come behind that banner, and coming behind that banner, no matter what your locale is, we can make the world much smaller. And the internet has given us that ability. Teleconferencing has given us that ability. Cell phones have given us that ability. And now we can be able to make things much smaller and communicate with each other. Even y'all in this chat room, share your email addresses, share your Facebook content, share your Facebook pages, share whatever you want in the group. I'm okay with that, okay? Because I want everybody to be a more close-knit community. I want everybody in this chat to get to know one another. So when we come to support this channel, nobody's a stranger, okay? Everybody's welcoming each other. Everybody's respecting each other. Everybody's saying, hey, we have this resource here. We're doing this over here. Communicate with each other, build with each other, and use my platform as a means to do so. I'm okay with that, all right? The brother Iron Duff says, can you provide some quick insight into the Urim and Thummim in regards to casting lots? Still not sure if casting lots is divination. So casting lots is a form of divination when you actually look up the definition of divination. And if casting lots was a form of divination outside of the priesthood. So the priesthood did not have to cast lots because they had the Urim and the Thummim, and the high priest was able to commune with the Most High, going towards the holies of holies, and speaking to the Most High via the Shekinah, or the glory that was over the mercy seat, and being able to speak and inquire of the Most High, and using the Urim and Thummim in order to make this decision. There's no explicit description of what these things was, but people believe that it was two different pieces that was attached to the breastplate that would be pulled upon depending upon what the yes or no was. And it was a method for allowing the patron deity, which is Yod-Heh-Wav-Heh, to commune with the high priest, who then would go and express it to the people on the outside. Casting lots was a form of divination, whereby which a method of chance was casted, so that way nobody can interfere with the results. And based on how these lots were cast, it would determine who was responsible for what, and what that yes or no answer would be to an inquiry, okay? So I read one earlier, which is the book of Jonah. And Jonah, lots was cast, it fell on Jonah. And this was a way for the people to figure out who was responsible for this calamity that was coming upon them, whose power was responsible for that. So again, casting lots is a form of divination outside of the priesthood. But casting lots was a sanctioned form of divination because it was done all throughout the text, and it was not condemned by no prophets. It was not condemned by a word of the Most High. It was allowed. It was a way that the layman can get an answer from the Most High without skewering the results, but allowing it to chance. And we see that term chance in the book of Ecclesiastes. Everything is left to time and chance. And chance would be the form of casting lots with divination, because chance, no man has control over. That's in the hands of the Most High Yah. All right. The brother Black Acid enjoyed this a lot. Got some great clarity on henotheism. I appreciate the brother for sharing that. Got a 66 said, very interesting session. Thank you, sis. And I think I covered everybody. So if there's no more comments or questions, Tanika West says, thank you, Divine. I'm going to close out. All right. So I want to say thank you, everybody, for joining this Saturday Night Live. I apologize for it being early in the morning, but I thank all of the Night Watch. I call them the Night Watch. He said, yeah. Sirius B says, y'all told on him. Yeah, he did, right? Thank you, everybody, for being the watchmen at night, watching over the walls while everybody's asleep. You guys are awake, and you guys are doing nation building, community building, getting involved on this platform, speaking about the various subject matters. Is designed to catalyze the community, to remove anything that's stagnant, that is not fruitful or productive for our growth or advancement. And you guys are contributing to a greater whole. I mean, you are placing pieces in the shared KB or knowledge base that we have as a community, and we are becoming the owners of this knowledge and information. We're becoming the teachers of this knowledge and information, and we don't have to rely upon our oppressor to teach us. We can do so ourselves. So everybody in this chat, everybody in the panel, we are all contributing to the building of this nation of Israel here in captivity, family. And we're doing an excellent job coming together. When we come together in love and understanding and respect, so many things is possible, family. All right, so many things is possible. So I love you guys. Thank you for watching this beautiful session. I think we had a great session. I think everybody was able to get edified, educated, and empowered from it and equipped. Everybody left the session with something, and everybody learned something. Even me, I learned something having these brothers on the line, and even having a chat going, I learned something. You know, and I appreciate everybody for that, for their input, and for their respectability and their accountability in the chat and on the panel. So love you guys. Get some rest. Till next time, again, I'm going to try to push back the next live session much sooner so we can get more people on here who are not able to have the luxury of being up this early in the morning to jump on a line. But I'm going to try my best to accommodate them at my own expense of my schedule, so that way we can get more people in there, get more volunteers in here, and get more people who have more to contribute, so that way we can be greater than what we've been doing. So I love you, family. Stay tuned to next time, the next session. This is Divine Prospect. I say peace, shalom, and black power, family. Love y'all, family. See y'all again soon. Peace.